Um, you know that feeling. I really want you to like picture this vividly in your mind.
Oh, yeah. Put yourself right in that scenario.
Right. So you are standing in a coffee shop, or, maybe you are waiting at a bus stop or sitting on a bench in a really crowded park.
You know the environment perfectly?
Exactly. You know the environment, you know the vocabulary. I mean, you have practiced the exact sentence in your head like 100 times.
You feel totally prepared.
Totally. You've done your flashcards, you've listened to all the audiobooks, you feel like you've got this.
But then, and this is where it happens, the moment actually arrives.
Yeah.
The stranger steps up.
Yeah, and they look right at you.
They make direct eye contact.
Right. The barista leans over the counter and says something just incredibly simple, like a basic everyday phrase.
Something like, "What can I get started for you today?"
Or, nice weather we're having, isn't it? And suddenly your brain just empties out.
It completely blanks.
Yeah, completely. It is like someone literally reached into your mind, grabbed the master power cord, and just yanked it straight from the wall.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like.
All that vocabulary that you knew perfectly well just like 5 minutes ago while you were waiting in line, it's entirely gone. The syntax is gone. You just
And
freeze.
it's the classic freeze response.
Uh-huh.
And what's really fascinating here is that this isn't a failure of intelligence.
Right.
It's not a lack of preparation either. It is a biological event.
Wait, really? Biological?
Oh, absolutely. Your body literally perceives the social pressure of that specific moment as a threat, like a physical threat.
That's wild. So it's a survival mechanism.
Yeah, the amygdala fires up, adrenaline floods your entire system, and your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain responsible for, complex thinking and retrieving those newly learned vocabulary words, it simply shuts down.
Just to deal with the so-called emergency.
Exactly. It's an incredibly common experience, but frankly, it is deeply frustrating when you have, put so much effort into learning a new skill.
Well, welcome to this deep dive, everyone, because today our mission is to really explore a highly practical, relentlessly realistic roadmap for learning a new skill.
Specifically, we're focusing on language acquisition today.
Right. We spent the last few weeks poring over transcripts from some of the most highly regarded English learning guides out there.
Yeah, programs like Speak English with Class, Enjoy English Talks, and Emily English Daily.
And what really struck me about these materials isn't that they offer some secret magic grammar formula. It's that they take this seemingly impossible, monumental task of fluency and they break it down
Into microscopic steps.
microscopic, manageable steps that actually bypass that biological freeze response entirely.
And, that biological workaround is just crucial.
Yeah.
Because traditional learning methods, they often ignore the reality of human stress.
Oh, totally. And exhaustion.
Right. They assume we are perfectly rational robots who can just absorb information through sheer willpower alone.
Which we definitely are not. And before we get into the actual mechanics of how to learn, I want to set a very specific tone for what we are doing here today.
Which is very important.
We are going to take our time. Like, no rushing.
No overwhelming academic theories that only work at a pristine laboratory setting, right?
Exactly. We are going to explain these concepts slowly. We're focusing entirely on realistic, everyday applications.
Things you can actually fit into your very messy, very busy life.
Because let's be honest, if a learning method isn't realistic for you, it doesn't matter how scientifically optimized it is. You just won't do it.
That is the core truth of adult learning. I mean, we are dealing with an audience, you, listening to this, who has a life.
Right, you have a job.
You have family obligations, you have a commute, you have baseline exhaustion every single day.
So a learning strategy absolutely has to respect the reality of your limited energy.
If it demands perfection or endless free time, it is destined to fail right out of the gate.
Okay, so let's really unpack this. We're going to figure out exactly why that coffee shop freeze happens.
And more importantly, how to fix it.
Exactly. So you can actually enjoy speaking any language, but we cannot start at the coffee shop.
No, the coffee shop is like the final boss battle.
Right. We have to start at the very foundation of any new endeavor, which is how we manage our time.
Because before you can train your brain to do something new, you need to actually find the temporal space to do it in the first place.
And this is usually where people give up before they even begin, right?
Almost always. The assumption is usually like, if I want to learn Spanish or coding or the guitar, I need to find 2 free hours every single day.
Just to sit quietly at a desk and study.
Right, which is just absurd.
Who has 2 free hours just lying around? I don't. You don't.
Literally nobody does.
So instead of suggesting you need to carve out massive blocks of free time by, waking up at 4 in the morning.
Please don't do that.
Yeah, please don't. We need to look at how to harvest the time you already have. Let's dig into this concept of wasting time, because the definition we found in this source material is incredibly sharp.
It really is. They define wasting time not as just taking a break.
Right, because breaks are essential.
Exactly. They define it as using your time for things that are neither helpful to your growth nor helpful to your rest.
It is a very specific utility-based definition, and I feel like we often confuse distraction with rest.
Oh, all the time. But they are not the same thing at all.
No, they really aren't.
If an activity isn't teaching you something, making you healthier, or genuinely allowing your nervous system to power down and recharge, then it falls into the category of wasted time.
There is this brilliant analogy from the sources here that really stuck with me.
The water bottle one.
Yes. Think about time like water in a bottle. You wake up every morning with a specific amount of water in that bottle for the day.
Right, and it's a finite amount.
It is. And if you just uncap it and pour it out onto the floor, you cannot drink it later when you are actually thirsty.
It is just gone.
It's completely absorbed into the carpet. You can't wring it out.
The permanence of that image is what makes it so effective, I think.
Hmm.
Pouring water on the floor provides no hydration.
No benefit to anyone.
Right, and you absolutely cannot get it back.
I really want to dig into the psychological side of that, that spill.
The regret.
Yes, there is a very specific feeling of regret associated with this that I think we all know intimately.
Oh, absolutely.
Picture this scenario, right? It's 8 p.m. You finally sit down on the couch after a super long day.
You're exhausted.
Right, and you plan to take a 10-minute break to decompress before doing some reading or, cleaning the kitchen.
Just 10 minutes.
So you pull out your phone, you watch one funny video, and then the algorithm does its job.
It always does.
It's just one more, and just one more. And suddenly you look at the clock, and an hour and 15 minutes have just evaporated.
We have all been there. It's basically a universal modern experience at this point.
But what really fascinates me is the physical aftermath of that.
Yeah, how do you feel afterwards?
Exactly. The reason that hour and 15 minutes feels so awful is because of what happens internally. You don't actually feel rested after doom scrolling.
Not at all. You feel hollow.
You feel hollow, you feel a little guilty, your eyes probably hurt. You actually feel more physically and mentally tired than when you first sat down on the couch.
Which is so counterintuitive, right?
It really is. Why is that? I mean, if I just sat perfectly still for 75 minutes doing literally nothing, why am I exhausted?
Well, it's because your brain craves intentionality.
Yeah.
And in that scenario, it was entirely denied it.
Okay, break that down for me.
Sure. When you are mindlessly scrolling, you are engaging with what behavioral psychologists call time thieves.
Time thieves. I love that term.
Right. A time thief is a stimulus that demands cognitive processing, but offers zero psychological reward.
And social media is like the apex predator of time thieves?
Oh, 100%. Your brain is technically highly active during that hour. I mean, it's processing rapidly changing colors, audio cues, extreme context switches.
Yeah, the context switching is crazy.
It is. In the span of 3 minutes, you might watch a comedian, then see a tragic news story, then read a heated political argument in a comment section.
Right, it's just cognitive whiplash.
Exactly. Your brain is burning calories trying to process all those shifting emotional states, but it's not gaining any meaningful input.
And it's not resting either.
Exactly. It's not achieving the delta wave state of genuine relaxation. It is a high-stimulus, low-reward environment that drains dopamine without replacing it.
So you feel exhausted because, neurologically speaking, you just ran a marathon, but you went nowhere.
Precisely. You stayed perfectly still, but your brain was sprinting.
So you are spending the water, you're pouring on the floor, but you are still dying of thirst.
That's exactly it. And this is where the concept of being intentional versus being vague becomes a critical dividing line between success and failure.
Okay, so how do we stop the time thieves?
Well, to stop them, you have to operate with intent. Intentional means you do something on purpose, with a defined parameter, not by accident.
And vague is like the mortal enemy of intentional, right?
Completely.
Because I see this all the time. People set these sweeping, cloudy goals, like, I want to improve my skill.
Or I want to be fluent.
I want to get in shape.
Those are just vague statements. They sound lovely on a vision board, sure, but your brain has absolutely no idea what to do with them.
They aren't actionable.
Right. They are not actionable directives. When a goal is vague, the cognitive friction required to figure out the very first step is just too high.
It's kind of like standing at the base of a massive mountain and just saying, I want to be at the top.
Yep.
The brain looks at the sheer cliff face, gets completely overwhelmed by the lack of a clear path, and says, it's easier looking at my phone.
Exactly. You default to the path of least resistance.
Which is the time thief waiting right there in your pocket.
Yep, it's always ready.
This leads perfectly into the first major practical strategy we need to adopt from these transcripts. It's called the tiny plan.
And we really need to emphasize the word tiny here.
Yes, tiny. We are not talking about grand, sweeping promises that you are going to aggressively overhaul your entire life by Monday.
Because you will invariably fail at that by Tuesday.
Exactly. To really grasp the power of the tiny plan, we need to think about how a GPS system operates.
This is a great analogy from the sources.
Yeah, so if you just get into your car, turn the key, and start driving without inputting a specific destination address, where do you end up?
You just drive in circles.
You take random turns, you waste half a tank of gas, you spend hours in traffic.
And you don't actually arrive anywhere meaningful.
Right. You are expending energy and creating motion, but you lack direction.
That is exactly what waking up with a vague goal like, I will study Spanish today, feels like.
But when you punch a simple, specific address into the GPS, the entire experience changes, doesn't it?
Totally changes. It tells you exactly what to do at every intersection.
Turn left here, drive for 2 miles, you have arrived.
Right. A tiny plan is the specific hyperlocal address you put into your daily cognitive GPS.
I'm really trying to picture the scale of this, though. If I say I'm going to learn a language, a tiny plan isn't like watch a full movie without subtitles, right?
Oh, no.
Is it really supposed to be microscopic?
It looks almost ridiculously small.
Mm-hmm.
A tiny plan is something like, today, I will learn 3 new words related to my kitchen.
3 words.
Or, today I will listen to exactly 1 5-minute podcast.
Or read 1 single paragraph.
Exactly. Today I will read 1 single paragraph of this article.
I mean, 3 words. It almost feels insulting to my intelligence.
I know it does.
It feels so light that I almost feel like I'm cheating.
That feeling of it being too light is actually the exact magic of the strategy.
Really? How so?
It bypasses the brain's defense mechanisms. Think about a learner who tries to commit to studying for a full hour every single day after work.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. The goal is too massive. By Wednesday, they are tired, they have a headache, so they skip a day.
And then Thursday comes.
Then Thursday comes, and the guilt of missing Wednesday sets in. And guilt is a toxic emotion for learning.
Oh, completely.
It makes you avoid the subject entirely, just to avoid feeling bad about yourself.
Right. You associate the language with a sense of personal failure. You see the textbook on your desk, and you just feel bad.
Exactly. But when you change the plan to just 5 minutes a day, or just 3 words, everything shifts.
Because it's so easy.
Right. You can always keep that promise to yourself. You are never scared to start, because 5 minutes is a joke.
It requires 0 willpower.
0. And here is the neurological payoff. Every time you finish that tiny task, you get a genuine hit of dopamine.
You feel a sense of pride.
You kept your word to yourself.
It's basically building self-trust. You are tricking your brain into initiating the action.
Yes, getting over that initial friction is the hardest part.
And I imagine once you overcome that friction and actually start, sometimes that 5 minutes naturally turns into 15 or 20 minutes because you get into a groove.
Very often, yes.
But the beauty is, the promise was only ever 5. If you stop at 5, you still won.
Exactly. You remove the fear of starting. You have your precise GPS address, so you don't waste any mental energy.
We don't waste the water.
Right. You don't waste the water wondering, what book should I read? What app should I open? You just execute the tiny plan.
Okay, so we have our tiny plan. We know our specific destination for the day, but we still need to find the actual time to do it.
Which brings us to a really brilliant concept.
Yes, this concept completely reframes how we view our daily schedules. It's called pocket time.
It is an incredibly liberating way to look at your day.
We really need to stop looking at time exclusively in terms of big 1-hour blocks.
Right. If time is currency, we are always looking for the $100 bills.
Like, I don't have a free hour, so I have absolutely no time.
But what about the small change?
Exactly. The 5 minutes here, the 7 minutes there.
The 3 minutes while you wait for the microwave to beep.
Yes, the temporal loose change rattling around in your day, the time you spend waiting for a bus.
The 10 minutes sitting in the back of an Uber.
The 6 minutes standing in line at the grocery store, even just standing at the sink washing dishes. That is your pocket time.
And most people just throw these small coins straight into the trash.
We pull out our phones, we scroll social media for 4 minutes, and we just throw that time away.
But if you treat time like coins and aggressively collect those 5-minute pieces,
Eventually, you can buy something huge.
it mathematically adds up.
Yeah.
And it leverages the spacing effect in psychology, too.
Oh, what's that?
It's a concept that shows that short, repeated exposures are actually way better for memory retention than long, grueling study sessions.
That makes so much sense. Let's look at a really tangible example of this from the sources, because I think it helps ground it.
Yeah, the story of the busy working parent.
Right. Think about a busy working parent with 2 young kids. If anyone on earth has a legitimate excuse to say I have absolutely no time, it is a working mother.
Absolutely. That is the ultimate stress test for any productivity advice.
Truly. If it doesn't work for her, it's just theoretical nonsense.
And she explicitly stated in the source that she never had one full, uninterrupted hour to herself, ever.
Never. But she audited her day and realized she had dozens of small, scattered minutes.
So she strictly, ruthlessly used pocket time.
5 minutes walking from her office to the bus station.
10 minutes sitting alone in the break room during her lunch hour.
7 minutes folding laundry right before sleep. She
Yeah.
just collected her time coins.
And the results were amazing. After just a few months of this, utilizing absolutely zero traditional study blocks, she noticed massive improvements.
In her listening comprehension and vocabulary retrieval, right?
Yes. It proves how intensely realistic this method is.
It doesn't ask you to overhaul your life.
Oh.
It doesn't ask you to hire a nanny or wake up at 4 in the morning.
It just asks you to harvest the gaps that already exist in your current routine.
You can review your 3 new words while waiting for the elevator. You can listen to an audio lesson while doing the dishes.
You are overlaying the learning onto your existing mundane habits.
It is about efficiency and integration, not exhaustion. But I want to push back on this a little bit,
Okay, go ahead.
because I can hear the alarm bells going off for some listeners right now. If the advice is to aggressively harvest every single 5-minute pocket of time we have in a day,
Every single line we stand in.
yeah, every walk to the car, every moment on the toilet, aren't we just going to completely burn out?
That's a very fair question.
Like, this sounds dangerously close to toxic hustle culture. Does don't waste time actually just mean always be optimizing and never let your brain rest?
I am so glad you brought this up, because it is a vital distinction to make, and it's a trap many high achievers fall into.
I certainly fall into it.
The answer is a resounding categorical no. Rest is absolutely not wasting time. In fact, genuine rest is a biological imperative for learning.
Okay, explain that to me slowly. Because use every 5-minute pocket and rest is good feel like contradictory pieces of advice.
I know they do.
How do I know when I'm actually resting versus when I'm just letting a time thief steal from me?
To resolve that contradiction, let's use the metaphor of a smartphone battery.
Okay.
You use your phone all day, you send emails, you navigate with GPS, you stream music. The battery slowly drains.
Right.
If you never ever plug that phone into the wall, what happens?
It dies, the screen goes black, it just becomes an expensive paperweight.
Exactly. Our central nervous systems and our cognitive capacities operate on the exact same principle.
We are the battery.
We are the battery. If we work, study in our pockets, run errands, take care of kids, manage relationships, and never intentionally stop, our internal battery goes to zero.
We crash.
We crash, good sleep, quiet time, staring out a window, and genuine rest. Those are the chargers.
So sitting quietly on the couch, doing absolutely nothing, without a screen in my face that is not pouring water on the floor.
If you are doing it intentionally to recharge, no. It is plugging the phone in. It is essential maintenance.
Wow. Okay.
The real waste of time is actually pushing through severe exhaustion.
Really? Because I feel like we're conditioned to believe that trying to work harder, even when tired, is a virtue.
It's a huge cultural misconception
How is trying to work wasting time?
because of the massive drop in cognitive quality. Let me share a scenario from the sources that illustrates this perfectly.
Please.
Imagine a professional trying to finish a complex project or study a difficult grammar concept late at night.
Okay.
They are exhausted. Their internal battery is at like 2%, but they force themselves to push through.
Right. The grind mindset.
Exactly. They spend 2 agonizing hours grinding away at the desk. But because their prefrontal cortex is exhausted, they make mistakes, they can't focus, and the retention is zero.
So the work is objectively terrible.
It's awful. But then, the next morning, after getting 8 hours of sleep, after fully charging the battery, they look at the work they did the night before.
And they realize it's garbage.
They realize it's garbage, they scrap it, and they redo the entire thing perfectly in just 30 minutes.
Wow. So by refusing to rest, they actually threw away 2 hours of their life suffering for zero reward.
Precisely. Resting is a high-yield activity. Pushing through depletion is the actual waste.
So balance is the ultimate key here.
Always. You need some intentional time to work, you need to harvest some pocket time to study, and you absolutely need time to genuinely, unapologetically rest.
Because if you don't schedule rest, your body will schedule it for you.
In the form of burnout or illness. Exactly.
Okay, let's pull back and look at the foundation we've just built here. We have reclaimed our time.
We aren't looking for impossible 2-hour study blocks anymore.
Right. We have set a tiny plan, a specific GPS address, like 3 words a day so we don't get overwhelmed.
We are harvesting our pocket time, those 5-minute coins, while waiting in line.
And we are protecting our battery by intentionally resting instead of mindlessly scrolling.
That is the bedrock. If you don't establish those habits first, no amount of advanced linguistic theory will help you.
But now we have to move to the internal work. We've carved out these 5-minute pockets. The immediate question is, what do you actually do with them?
Right. How do you use the time?
Exactly. We have to train the biological machinery of the brain to adopt a completely new skill.
And we need to do it slowly and realistically, so the brain doesn't view the process as a painful punishment and reject it entirely.
Right. And the very first thing we have to dismantle is the way almost all adults naturally try to process a new language.
We rely heavily on the crutch of translation.
The trap of translating, it's so deeply ingrained. The ultimate goal, if you want to be fluent, is to think directly in the new language.
Yes.
Rather than thinking in your native language, translating the concept, and then speaking.
Yes. We really need to look closely at the cognitive mechanics of what happens when you translate in your head during a conversation.
Okay, walk me through that.
Let's say someone asks you a question in English. First, your brain receives the English auditory signals.
Step 1.
Right. Step 2, you translate those English words into your native language just to understand what was asked.
Okay.
Step 3, you formulate your response in your native language. Step 4, you translate that formulated response back into English.
And finally, step 5, you actually speak.
Exactly.
It's like running a heavy software emulator on an old computer. You're asking the processor to do triple the work just to perform a basic function.
That's a great way to describe it.
I picture it like taking a massive detour on a road trip. You are trying to go from point A to point B, which should be a straight highway.
But instead of taking the highway,
Instead, you exit, you drive through 3 different congested towns, stop at every red light, ask for directions twice, and then finally get back on the road.
it makes the machinery of your brain work entirely too hard.
And it is simply too slow for a real-time, dynamic conversation.
That detour is the exact biological reason why people freeze in the coffee shop.
Oh, it all connects.
Yes. The brain is frantically trying to execute those 5 complex translation steps simultaneously, all while a stranger is staring at them, waiting for an answer.
So the social pressure spikes the adrenaline.
The cognitive load becomes too heavy for working memory to sustain, and the entire system crashes. You freeze.
But here is my issue with this, right? I hear this advice all the time from polyglots on the internet. Just think in the new language. Stop translating.
Which is easier said than done.
Right. How on earth is that realistic? You can't just flip a neurological switch and decide to think in a completely different language when you only know 100 words.
It sounds impossible.
It sounds literally impossible for a beginner.
And it is impossible if you try to do it with complex, abstract thoughts.
Okay, so what's the realistic approach?
The secret to this is a slow, methodical, hyper-realistic approach. You do not start by trying to have philosophical debates or complex emotional reflections in a new language.
What do you start with?
You start with tiny, indisputable, physical facts about your immediate reality.
I'm trying to visualize this. What does that actually look like in practice?
It looks incredibly basic, almost childlike.
Yeah.
You sit at your desk, you hold up the object in your hand, and you intentionally think, this is my pen,
Okay.
or my pen is blue. You wake up in the morning, you stretch, and as you put your feet on the floor, you intentionally think, I am awake.
I am awake.
You walk into the kitchen, open the fridge, and think, I am hungry.
So you are simply narrating the absolute baseline facts of your existence.
Yes, you are attaching the new language directly to your lived physical life.
Completely bypassing your native language.
Exactly. You aren't taking your native word for pen, translating it to the English word pen, and then looking at the object.
You are looking at the physical plastic object and attaching the new label directly to the visual stimulus.
Yes, you are building a new, direct neural pathway. And you do this constantly during your pocket time.
So you are riding the bus, you look out the window, and you think to yourself, I see a red car, a man is walking, it is a sunny day.
That's exactly it.
You are building a direct bridge between your optic nerve and the new language, skipping the native language translation center entirely. I love that.
It feels incredibly manageable because it requires zero imagination.
Right, the prompts are just whatever is right in front of your face.
It is highly manageable. But to build that direct bridge, your brain needs raw material to work with.
You need vocabulary and sentence structure.
Which brings us to the crucial balance of input versus output.
Right, feeding the brain versus speaking. Let's start with input. The definition of input is simply the target language going into your system, right, into your ears and your eyes.
Listening and watching.
Okay.
The human brain is, at its core, a sophisticated pattern recognition machine. It needs massive amounts of input to recognize the grammatical structures, the common phrasings,
And what linguists often refer to as the music of the language.
the rhythm, the cadence, where the stress falls in a sentence.
Exactly.
When you listen extensively, your brain subconsciously maps how the sentences flow together, how the intonation rises at the end of a question and falls at the end of a statement.
It is giving your brain the essential food it needs to grow those neural pathways.
But there is a massive, non-negotiable rule when it comes to input that we really need to highlight here.
The rule of fun.
Yes, the rule of fun. This is perhaps the most ignored rule in adult education.
Really?
Oh yeah. If the input feels like a punishment, your brain will deploy an effective filter and simply block the information from entering your long-term memory.
I think we all have PTSD from high school language classes.
Totally.
Sitting at a hard desk, staring at a dry textbook, memorizing endless lists of irregular verb conjugations.
It felt heavy. It felt serious.
You were terrified of being called on, and as soon as the final exam was over, the brain just dumped all that information into the trash?
Because it was heavily associated with stress and boredom.
Exactly.
Think about the psychology of play for a second. Imagine a young child playing with building blocks.
Okay.
If every single time the child reaches for a block, an adult stands over them with a clipboard shouting, "Do it perfectly. That's the wrong angle. Don't make mistakes." What happens?
The child completely freezes, they drop the blocks, and they walk away. They hate the game now.
The adult brain works the exact same way. It does not absorb information well under constant low-grade stress.
If learning always feels heavy, tedious, or punitive, you will subconsciously avoid it.
Therefore, the most realistic, sustainable strategy is to explicitly connect your language learning to things you already enjoy doing anyway.
You hijack your existing hobbies.
Exactly.
This is brilliant because it removes the need for extra willpower. Like, if you love cooking, you don't force yourself to watch a boring instructional video on English grammar.
No, you go to YouTube and watch an Italian chef making pasta, but you watch it in English.
And think about why a cooking video is such incredibly powerful input from a neurological standpoint.
The context is amazing.
Yes, the visual context is perfectly aligned with the audio track. The chef says, "I am slicing the red tomato." And on the screen, you physically see a knife slicing a red tomato.
Your brain instantly maps the audio words to the visual action without ever needing to consult your native language. It is pure, rich context.
It's the ultimate direct bridge. And the same goes for sports clips, right?
Oh, absolutely. He kicks the ball. It goes into the net. It is a goal.
The fast-paced physical action explains the vocabulary in real time. What about music? I know pop songs are always highly recommended in the sources.
Pop songs are fantastic linguistic tools because they rely heavily on repetition and melody.
The chorus loops over and over again.
Right, burying the phrasing and the pronunciation deep into your auditory memory while you are just enjoying the beat.
The melody actually acts as a mnemonic device, helping you recall the words much faster than reading them on a page.
So whether it's printing out lyrics to sing in the shower, watching a cooking show, or putting English subtitles on your favorite sitcom, the point is that you are building a personalized environment.
You are creating a safe, small gym for your brain.
I love that phrase. A safe, small gym.
A place where you can work out the language muscles without any pressure, testing, or fear of judgment.
But eventually, you can't just consume. To truly acquire the skill, you must produce. You have to practice output.
Right. And this is where the advice gets a little unconventional. To practice speaking without the pressure of a real conversation, the guides highly recommend a strategy that feels a bit, well, crazy at first.
But it's deeply realistic.
They recommend speaking to yourself out loud, constantly.
Yes, in the shower, pacing in your living room alone in your car during your commute.
Just narrating your physical life out loud to an empty room. I am cooking the pasta, the bed is big, the lamp is on.
Exactly.
Now, I have to admit, as someone who has tried this, doing this feels incredibly silly at first.
It always does.
It feels deeply unnatural to walk around your house declaring that the kitchen table is brown. Explain to me the actual science of why this works. Why isn't just thinking the thoughts in my head enough? Why do I have to open my mouth?
Because speaking is not just a mental exercise. It is a highly complex physical motor skill activity.
Oh, interesting.
Your brain might know the word, but your jaw, your tongue, your lips, and your vocal cords do not have the muscle memory to produce those specific phonetic sounds.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that. It's like knowing the rules of tennis versus actually swinging the racket. It's physical training.
Absolutely. Every language has unique phoneme sounds that require your mouth to move in ways it literally never has before.
Right. Some sounds just don't exist in other languages.
When you speak to yourself out loud, you are practicing that physical coordination. Furthermore, your ears need to hear your own voice making the sounds.
There's a psychological feedback loop that occurs when you hear yourself successfully speak the language. It normalizes the experience.
And doing it alone means it's the ultimate low-stakes environment.
Exactly. You are your own friendly coach. There's nobody there to grade you or judge your accent.
You are allowed to make mistakes. And you will make mistakes.
Right. Let's say you are narrating your morning routine and you accidentally say out loud, "I is happy."
In a crowded coffee shop, making a basic conjugation error might make you blush and freeze.
But alone in your kitchen, you hear the mistake. You recognize it doesn't sound right based on all the input you've been listening to, and you simply self-correct.
Oh, wait. I am happy.
Mistakes aren't failures in the private gym. They're just data points. They just mean you are calibrating the machinery.
It entirely removes the fear of being wrong. You have to be willing to be wrong in private so you can build the muscle memory to be right in public.
It is the necessary, repetitive physical conditioning required to make the foreign words feel natural and native in your mouth.
Okay, so this internal work, the tiny plan to get started, the fun, context-rich input to feed the brain, the out-loud private output to build the muscle memory. This is all building the engine.
But at some point, you have to take the car out of the garage.
Yes. You cannot stay in the safe, private gym forever. If you never speak to another human, you haven't really learned to communicate.
Which brings us to the most daunting part of the journey, breaking the silence, the external work.
The real world.
Because narrating your bedroom is safe and comfortable. But eventually you have to leave the house. You have to take this newly built cognitive machinery and actually look a stranger in the eye and talk to them.
And this is exactly where we circle back to our hook from the beginning.
This is the coffee shop. This is where the real panic sets in.
When you step into the real world, the primary enemy of your progress is no longer grammar or vocabulary.
The enemy has a very specific name: silence.
Silence. Not a bad accent, not using the wrong verb tense, just pure silence.
Yes. You see a person, you want to practice, you have a thought, but you stay quiet. The enemy wins.
And we stay quiet because we overthink.
The internal monologue becomes absolutely brutal and catastrophic, right? What if I say something wrong? What if they don't understand me? What if they laugh at me? What if I look stupid?
The spotlight effect. We assume everyone is judging us harshly.
So how do we defeat that internal monologue? How do we hack the system to actually open our mouths?
By fundamentally misunderstanding the psychology of human interaction. The most profound, reassuring point you can internalize is this. A conversation is not a test.
But we treat it exactly like one. We treat it like the barista holding the coffee cup also has a red pen and is actively grading our syntax on a clipboard.
But they aren't.
Yeah.
There is no pass or fail grade in a casual interaction. The vast majority of people on Earth do not care about your perfect grammar.
What do they actually care about?
They care about your smile, your effort, your energy, and your kindness.
Maya Angelou famously said that people will forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel.
Exactly. If you make someone feel respected and seen, They do not care if you use the wrong preposition.
That is such a massive relief. They care about your smile, not your grammar. So how do we operationalize this? We need a system.
Luckily, the guides provide a highly specific, totally realistic 5-step roadmap for talking to anyone, anywhere.
Let's walk through these 5 steps slowly, breaking down the mechanics of each one.
Step 1 is the most basic yet most powerful action, the smile start.
Before you say a single word, you just smile at the person. Why is this step 1?
Because a smile is a profound physical signal operating on 2 completely different channels.
Okay, what's the first channel?
First, outwardly, it instantly communicates to the stranger's primitive brain. I am friendly. I'm not a threat. You are safe. We can interact. It lowers their defenses.
Makes sense. And the second channel?
The second channel is the massive physiological effect internally on you.
This is the facial feedback hypothesis, right?
Exactly. The physical act of turning up the corners of your mouth stimulates the vagus nerve.
So it actually sends a signal back to your brain saying, we are smiling, therefore we must be safe.
It actively reduces the production of cortisol and stress hormones. It physically lowers your heart rate and makes you feel more calm.
I love this. It's almost like a physiological cheat code.
It really is.
It reminds me of yawning on an airplane to pop your ears. You are forcing a physical, muscular action to trick your internal biological system into equalizing the pressure.
That is a perfect analogy. You are equalizing the social pressure. So you smile, you hack your nervous system, and then you just say one single word, hi or hello.
That is the entirety of step 1.
Just opening the channel, testing the microphone.
But what if they don't smile back? What if they just look away or keep staring at their phone? That feels like rejection, which is exactly what we are afraid of.
You have to be deeply pragmatic about this. If they look away, it is okay.
Right.
Maybe they're late for a meeting. Maybe they just got bad news. Maybe they're just having a terrible day.
It is almost certainly not about you or your language skills.
You just let it go and move on.
Yeah.
But the act of trying is what matters. It builds a smile habit.
It makes the physical act of initiating contact feel natural and routine rather than a terrifying high-stakes gamble.
Okay, so we've smiled, we've said hi, and let's assume they smiled back and acknowledged us. Now what?
Step 2 is the easy question.
The rule here is friction reduction. Do not ask them to explain the meaning of life, their political views, or anything that requires complex thought.
Ask something incredibly short, closed-ended, and simple that anyone can answer on autopilot.
Like, is the sea taken? Or, cute dog, what's his name?
Or, do you know what time the bus gets here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are just opening a tiny creaky door to see what happens. You are offering a low-friction invitation to interact.
And if they give a blunt, one-word answer like, yes, and immediately look back down at their book.
Then the interaction is over, and you log it as a massive victory.
Because you initiated, you spoke, and you survived.
There is zero pressure to keep a dead conversation going. But often, human nature takes over, and they will respond with something more.
No, the seat isn't taken. Go ahead. Or, his name is Buster. He's a golden retriever mix.
And suddenly, the door is open. You are in a real conversation.
Which brings us to step 3. Talk about what you see.
This step completely removes the paralyzing burden of feeling like you have to be wildly interesting or wildly charming.
You do not have to invent a brilliant topic out of thin air.
The topic is already provided for you. It is the shared environment surrounding both of you.
So you simply describe the shared physical reality. This coffee smells amazing.
The flowers in the park are really blooming today.
It is freezing out here this morning.
It requires zero mental preparation. And crucially, it is totally socially safe. It is the definition of low-risk conversation.
You aren't prying into their personal life. You're just acknowledging the shared reality.
Psychologically, humans naturally love to agree with basic observations about their immediate environment. It builds instant micro-rapport.
It is the ultimate neutral ground. Okay, so we're having a pleasant little chat about the weather or the pastries in the display case.
But then it happens.
The inevitable nightmare scenario. The native speaker speeds up their talking pace, or they use a colloquial slang word, or they make a cultural joke, and you hit a solid brick wall.
You have absolutely no idea what they just said.
The freeze response starts creeping back up your spine. This is where step 4 comes in.
And I think this might be the most powerful, liberating piece of advice in this entire deep dive.
Step 4, the magic words.
The magic words are a specific, simple phrase. I'm still learning English. Or, I'm still learning whatever your target language is.
I'm still learning. It acts as a literal safety net.
It is profound how rapidly and effectively this works. Let's dive really deep into the psychology of why this specific phrase is so disarming.
Yes, let's do that.
When you are struggling to speak a language, or struggling with any new skill really, you often feel like you are hiding a dark secret.
The secret being that you are an imposter, that you aren't fluent, that you don't belong.
Hiding a secret requires massive amounts of cognitive energy and causes intense anxiety. You are terrified they will find out and judge you.
But when you say the magic words out loud,
You voluntarily reveal the secret.
Okay.
You let all the air out of the balloon. You disarm the entire social tension with pure honesty.
and human beings, from an evolutionary standpoint, are deeply wired to respond to genuine vulnerability with empathy and assistance.
When you admit you are learning, the stranger's role instantly shifts in their own mind. They go from being a potential judge of your performance to being a helper.
Oh, I absolutely love that framing, judge to helper.
Instantly, you will watch their physical behavior change. They will naturally slow down their speaking pace.
They will enunciate their words more clearly.
Their facial expression will soften, and they will smile more encouragingly. They do not view you as foolish, stupid, or slow. They view you as incredibly brave.
Everyone knows that learning a new language as an adult is profoundly difficult. When you announce that you are actively in the arena doing it, you gain their immediate respect.
You completely remove the fear by simply being honest about your limitations.
You pull the ripcord on the safety net, and suddenly you realize you aren't falling, you are being caught. That is a beautiful way to interact with the world.
So we've navigated the chat, we used our safety net when we got confused, and now it's time to politely exit before we get exhausted.
Step 5. The nice goodbye.
Many people, especially when they are nervous and operating on adrenaline, will just abruptly end the interaction and literally run away the second they feel they've survived it,
But we have to remember the peak end rule in psychology.
which states that people judge an experience largely based on how they felt at its peak and at its end.
A conversation doesn't need to be 30 minutes long to be successful.
30 seconds is a massive win for a beginner.
Absolutely. But you need to end it cleanly to make the interaction feel complete, warm, and socially calibrated.
Just smile again, say, well, it was really nice talking to you, or have a great rest of your day.
And add a small physical gesture to cap it off, like a little wave or a nod.
Yes. It leaves the other person feeling good about the interaction, which means if you see that same barista or that same neighbor again tomorrow, they are highly likely to be the one to warmly initiate the next conversation.
You open the loop with a smile, and you close the loop with kindness.
Let's pull all of this together and synthesize this incredible journey.
We started at the absolute ground level, not with heavy grammar textbooks, but with the reality of our time.
We learned to stop pouring our daily water on the floor by doom scrolling, and instead, we reclaimed our pocket time.
Those 5-minute coins we usually throw away while waiting in line or washing dishes.
We replaced vague guilt with a tiny plan, like a specific GPS coordinate,
Just 3 words a day.
to ensure we actually initiated momentum without feeling overwhelmed. And we respected our own biological limits by acknowledging that intentional resting is charging the battery, not wasting time.
Then we took those 5-minute pockets and we rewired the internal machinery.
We stopped translating, refusing to take that massive, exhausting cognitive detour.
And started attaching the new language directly to our physical reality. We fed our brains with input that strictly followed the rule of fun.
Italian cooking shows, sports highlights, catchy pop songs, so our effective filter stayed low.
And we engaged in physical output by building a safe, private gym.
We talked to ourselves in the shower, narrating our reality out loud, building vocal cord muscle memory, allowing ourselves to make mistakes without fear, and acting as our own friendly coach.
And finally, we broke the silence. We stepped outside and faced the stranger in the coffee shop.
We fought the biological freeze response not by studying harder, but by understanding basic human nature.
We used the 5 steps. We started with a physical smile to hack our vagus nerve and calm our anxiety.
We opened a tiny door with a low-friction, easy question.
We found safe ground by talking about the shared environment we could both see.
We deployed the ultimate emotional safety net, the magic words, "I'm still learning," to instantly turn judges into helpers.
And we closed with a nice, warm goodbye.
Throughout all of these methods, from the tiny plan to the magic words, there is a single recurring theme that underpins everything we've talked about today.
Compassion.
You have to be kind to yourself during the learning process. You do not need to be perfect.
You just need a highly sustainable balance of small, realistic effort, consistency, and genuine rest.
The pressure to be flawless is the very thing that keeps us entirely silent. It is the exact trigger that makes our prefrontal cortex shut down at the coffee shop.
A conversation is not an exam. It is just two human beings sharing a brief moment in time.
I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on today. Something that builds on what we've learned but stretches a little further into the rest of our lives.
Think about those magic words we just discussed. I'm still learning this.
We have spent this deep dive talking about using that phrase as a tactical safety net for language acquisition.
But what if we applied that exact same safety net to everything else in our lives?
That is a fascinating, much broader application.
Think about it. What if, when you are starting a new job and feeling completely overwhelmed by the software systems, or you are trying to pick up a new hobby like painting and feeling clumsy?
Or even navigating a really difficult, messy new phase in a marriage or a friendship.
What if we just led with that honest vulnerability? What if we just looked at our colleagues or our partners and instead of pretending to have it all figured out, we just said, hey, I'm still learning how to do this.
It immediately disarms the tension in any room. It invites collaboration instead of critique.
Exactly. It turns everyone around you from a judge into a helper.
How much faster would we all grow? How much less baseline anxiety would we carry around every day?
And how much kinder would the world be if we all just stopped pretending we already knew exactly what we were doing?
Because the truth is, whether you are trying to order a cappuccino in a brand new language, or just trying to figure out how to get through a difficult Tuesday, none of us are perfect.
We are all just still learning.
It is the ultimate unifying truth of the human experience.
So the next time you are standing in that coffee shop and the barista looks at you and you feel that familiar, terrifying freeze creeping up your spine, take a breath.
Remember your small gem. Remember your time coins.
Remember that it's not a test. Give them a smile to hack your brain and just open the door. You have the tools now.
You just have to use them.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep collecting those time coins, keep feeding your brain with things you love, and most importantly, be relentlessly kind to yourself.